In this episode of Speak Out and Play for November 2024, I will discuss what has been happening, my 5 favorite expansions for Warfighter World War II, what's in the works for the channel, and the coming attractions for December 2024, all on Speak Out and Play. Hello, and welcome to Speak Out and Play, a monthly podcast for the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. You can find the audio version on Buzzsprout and Spotify, premiering on the last Monday of each month. The video debuts on the last Wednesday of each month on Seek Out and Play. Well, it's been a trying month for sure, but I am getting through it. And before you ask, no, I'm not getting divorced, and no, I didn't lose my job. I will not get into details today, but I can say that the Seek Out and Play channel will keep rolling along, if only because I shoot my videos at least 6 months in advance. Plus, I plan on shooting more videos over the next several weeks, along with making the podcast for each month. Bottom line, nothing is going to change. But what I do want to do is take this moment to speak to all those who have their own YouTube channels or who are planning on starting one. Life takes turns, some of which are unexpected. Just as Mr. Spock once said, change is the only constant in the universe. So, put some videos in the bank. Give yourself a cushion just in case something happens that takes you off track. The extra work you put in will not be wasted. If anything, you will feel more relaxed and more confident going forward, knowing you have a few videos in the can. We all know of YouTube channels in which the owner was highly dedicated, seemingly was going to create videos forever, and then silence. You never know of all the things that might happen until they do. And while this event that I am going through now was expected, the timing was not. Just remember that priorities can change. What seems certain today can be uncertain tomorrow. But if you take a little time to prepare, you can better handle the situation that you're facing, which means that you can make the best informed decisions instead of rash ones where you might regret what you have done later. But looking at it from another point of view, change represents opportunities. It's how you take advantage of the time you have which makes the difference. Hopefully in a couple of months I will be in a better position to make some positive changes to the channel. Until then, I plan on making the most of what I have, and thankfully I am prepared in case I must do other things during this time. Well, that was a downer, wasn't it? So, let's jump into a subject that's close to my gaming heart. I'm heading to the Warfighter Corner to discuss my 5 favorite expansions for Warfighter World War II. Normally, I do not get anywhere near the territory of doing reviews. The reason I'd like to think as to why I don't do reviews is that I'd rather focus my efforts on other topics. However, the most likely reason is that I do not purchase enough games each year to post reviews that are relevant to most gamers. However, since I'm talking about my favorite expansions, and not expansions that I claim to be in any way the best, I am willing to take a dive here and showcase 5 expansions that I regularly break out for my Warfighter World War II sessions. So, in no particular order, here we go. First off is the Chinese nationalist expansions number 22 and 23. I'm not sure if there's a more fun nation to play than the Chinese in Warfighter World War II. What they lack in quality, they more than make up for in one of the best nation skills in the game. The ability to recruit a squad soldier using experience points means that by the time you reach the objective, you may have a flood of soldiers ready to take on the challenge. They also make the perfect team for my Warfighter 29 series. The ability to add a new squad soldier, which usually replaces a tossed grenade, means that the overall resource point number never gets above 29, keeping the number of hostiles down while revving up the overall power of the Chinese, especially when you have skills coming up like His Number Was Up, which can eliminate a dangerous hostile before they can enter play. Now, the only downside is that there's relatively few missions for the Chinese, at least in the Far East Theater where they belong. But that may change if we get a core set that covers this most fascinating area of World War II. Well, maybe someday, but not today. So let's move on to my next favorite expansion, which is the Maquis, number 46. You probably notice a theme with 3 of the packs in this favorite series as they delve into commando, partisan, and resistance fighting. For me, Warfighter is at its best when showcasing this type of combat. The Maquis is one of the best, offering a real slice of French resistance with enjoyable missions, fascinating soldiers, and a little insight into the atmosphere of taking on superior German forces on your own home soil. The photos of actual Maquis resistance fighters are used, which adds to the already strong theme. The weapons are rather limited, as you might expect, but that's part of the thrill. Remember that you can choose weapons from the core set and other nation expansions such as Germany or France if you want to make a mission even more specialized. A sumptuous 8 missions and 8 objectives makes this one of the better single packs in all of World War II expansions, in my opinion. And add to this the service record cards for even more color, and this is far and away one of my favorites. I mean, this is such a fun expansion to play, and it's one of my go-tos when I'm in doubt and I want to get in a good game of Warfighter. But that's not the only. I still have 3 expansions left as part of my favorites, and the next one is the Enigma Machine, number 54. One of the inspirations for the Warfighter 29 series, Enigma Machine is a stripped-down pack that offers plenty of atmosphere inside a German U-boat. The obvious objective, capturing the Enigma Machine, is good enough, but there are 5 missions and 5 objectives which provide plenty of flavor. The Argonaut is a 29-point mission that limits you to just 1 soldier. From that, you must carry enough weapons and equipment to make it through to the objective. The choice of personnel is fine, but again, you can always make the call to go outside and choose UK or other forces from the core set or other expansion packs if you want to mix things up. For me, it is being inside that U-boat which really makes this one special. For such a simple approach, the use of cards for the locations really makes this one memorable for me. Plus, there's always a chance, as a couple of locations, that a ricochet may do the job of eliminating a hostile. Or not. That's the fun of the missions. It really is one of the most atmospheric of the World War II expansions, in my opinion, at least for me. But moving on, let's go to Italian Partisans, number 80. It's probably not all that surprising, with the Maquis being on the list, that the Italian Partisans are not far behind. Again, the same approach, using resistance and partisan forces, undermanned and under-equipped, taking on daring missions behind enemy lines. The story behind the setting is a fascinating one, as the Italian resistance, once the regime fell and the Germans took over, doesn't get as much notice as compared to the Maquis. And so this is a wonderful expansion that highlights this perhaps lesser-known area of World War II. Now, there's only 4 missions and 4 objectives, but it does come with plenty of its own locations and several resistance fighters, which include 4 player soldiers. There's also hostile resistance fighters, so you can play against them as the Germans. You can even create missions where the Royal Italian Army, loyal to the Germans, is fighting the resistance, assuming you have that expansion pack. Mix and match, do what you want. That's the fun of this expansion pack for me. And again, it is the idea of fighting behind enemy lines, or better yet, ordinary people fighting to free their country, which makes the theme so appealing to me. Perhaps it's my simpler is better mindset that makes this one of my favorites, but I think that the setting does have a great deal of appeal. And now moving on to the final expansion. This was a tough one for me to choose 5, but the 5th one is a bit of a cheat. It's the multi-era expansion pack number 3. It could be a lot of a cheat, depending on your point of view, of course. One of the most innovative updates to Warfighter, in my opinion, is the creation of the SITREP cards. These are cards that allow you to place at the beginning of the mission a situation representative that alters the game in some fashion. The sit-rep cards work somewhat like Planeswalker cards do in Magic the Gathering. Well, somewhat. You must either pay or gain resource points for playing the sit-rep card, and then you either gain a benefit or a challenge when adding it to your mission. For example, the Rough Terrain card lets you gain 4 resource points per location in the mission. So if there are 5 locations in total, you gain 20 resource points to use for your team. Hey, that sounds pretty good. However, the text states that you must subtract 2 from the soldier's move, which means that you are more likely to pay action cards to get your soldiers from one location to another. It is such a simple and challenging addition to the Warfighter series. That Rough Terrain card alone is so good at providing that flavor that here you are now having to slug it out over terrain that is a lot tougher than the standard mission. And this multi-era pack contains several sit-rep cards for all the core sets minus Fantasy, Vietnam, and the upcoming Chittor. But the positive is that it adds some much-needed color for each mission, especially if you have run dry when it comes to the missions. You simply place a sit-rep card, and all of a sudden, it's a brand new mission. Some of the more interesting sit-rep cards in the set, at least for me, include Milk Run, in which at least 4 squad soldiers must be present or you lose the mission. I guess you got to take care of the kids. The aforementioned Rough Terrain and Deadly Aim, where all your suppress results become KIAs, which is quite handy when facing fearless soldiers or zombies, for that matter, if you want to include that set. But you must pay 5 resource points per location. So again, you get 5 locations, you got to subtract 20 resource points from the overall team to get playing. Now, the set itself includes also a few skills, but the main focus is on the sit reps. And those are my 5. Those are my 5 favorites for right now. That could change. I still have a few Warfighter World War II expansions to get. So maybe when I get those, they'll become my favorites. You never know. So anyway, let's move from that wonderful subject and go into what is in the works for the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. It is November, Thanksgiving on the way, and the quiet time here at the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. So I'm going to catch up on some older projects that I have let slip. In searching through the games that I currently have, there are 2 that stand out which I've yet to make a full complement of videos for, and that includes Blitz in the East by Vento Novo Games and Vijayanagra by GMT. You've probably heard me mention that before, but I've kind of put it off because I am at heart a very lazy person, and I like to get things done first, and then when I don't get them all done, I put it off till the last minute because that's the type of person that I am. Anyway, I'm also getting a review copy of another game, which is something quite rare for this channel. I've probably gotten, 4 review copies, maybe 5 review copies since I started the channel back in April of 2019. But once I get that copy in my hands, I'll go over it, and I'll be making a few videos over the course of the next few months on that game. It's a game that most likely you know, and one that I am looking forward into delving into, but of course, I'm not going to say exactly what it is because I don't have my hands on it yet. It's still being sent to me. But again, I do not do reviews. I will do some how-to-play videos, highlighting some of the rules, provide play examples, if that's part of the game rule set, and some other rules as well, much like what you've seen me do with Upfront, Gunslinger. That's another series I'm doing some rules coverage over, and the like. In addition, I plan on getting some new equipment over the course of the next few months. That means also I don't want to shoot a whole lot of new videos until that equipment arrives. However, I do have a few spaces open over the next several months that need to be filled, so I will probably shoot 2 or 3 videos before the year is out just to fill up those spaces. The new equipment will begin by adding to the old equipment. That equipment I'm getting it's getting up there. It's getting old, I can tell you. And that means starting with some new lights, that I have more control over the amount of light that I cast on each game, counter blocks, maps, and all that fun stuff. If you have not noticed before, I use pretty basic flashlights as spotlights to highlight the different areas of the map or the game box or highlight a counter and stuff like that. And the spotlights, flashlights are great, but I can't dim them. You turn it on, you get full brightness, you turn it off. So I usually have to pull the light back or bring it closer if I want to change how bright it looks. Well, I'm getting some new flashlights that are dimmable, so I can control more, not only the amount of light that is cast, but I can also control some of the color that's being placed on without having to use gels. But the main goal of the new equipment that I'm getting is I've got my eye on a new lens. Now, the current lenses I use are great, and they works well in low light, and it has a wide field of view. However, this new lens will have an even wider field of view, and it lets in more light. So that means I get more control over what I'm shooting. That always works for me. So hopefully when I get this lens, it'll be in the next few months, I will make a better visual presentation for you all. I also plan on getting some more games. I am looking forward to creating a new series on a featured game, although perhaps not make as many videos as I did with Upfront, or Warfighter for that matter. However, there are some possibilities out there, and I will get more into that when I get the games and the stuff in my hands. After all, I feel more comfortable talking about what I have done rather than what I plan to do because, as you know, plans can change. But what will not change are the videos that are coming up for the month of December 2024 on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. For the first Wednesday in December 2024, Seek Out and Play presents Lanzerath Ridge. Let's get started as part of the Winter War Month on Seek Out and Play. A short video that focuses on setup, turn sequence, and victory conditions of Lanzerath Ridge, which is part of the Valiant Defense series by DVG. The video is designed to help people get started with their first turn of play. The Valiant Defense series also consists of Pavlov's House, Castle Itter, Soldiers and Postmen's Uniforms, and the upcoming Guadalcanal game. For the second Wednesday in December 2024, Seek Out and Play presents another in the Warfighter WWII series, this one focused on Finland. As part of the Winter War Month, this video contains two 29-point teams created for the Warfighter WWII series of play. The teams can be used by themselves in small missions, or you can put them together to create larger missions faster with a higher resource point value. Warfighter WWII is built around teams of 29 resource points, the minimum level for locations and objectives in the game in terms of how many hostiles appear when the location is played or the objective is activated. For the third Wednesday in December 2024, Seek Out and Play presents Freezing Inferno, the Solitaire Rules. This is a short video that describes the solitaire rules as found in the rulebook of Freezing Inferno from Princep Games. The video covers the solitaire rules for the Finnish and USSR bots, which control the actions of your opponent for solitaire play. This video concludes Winter War Month on the Seek Out and Play channel for December 2024. Check out more videos when you subscribe to the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. In addition, there is a monthly Speak Out and Play podcast, which you can find on Buzzsprout and Spotify. For just $2 per month, you can support the channel by becoming a Patreon member and see the videos and podcast 48 to 72 hours in advance. At least one new video is released every week on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel, so I will see you next Wednesday. And that's it for another Speak Out and Play podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Remember that you can catch a new podcast on Buzzsprout and Spotify on the last Monday of each month, and the video version of the podcast is posted on the last Wednesday of each month. For those who want to support the channel, you can catch the audio and video versions 72 and 48 hours in advance, respectively, on Patreon. A new video is released each week on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel, so I will see you next Wednesday. And if you see Sally, bring her all the way home.